Hey everybody, welcome back to Pardonable Live. We are in it. We are in the studio, 8:30, almost on time. Sorry. Um, almost on time. It's been one heck of a week. I don't know about you guys. Thanks for joining in. You guys know the drill, like and subscribe. You jabronis, change the font right here down at the bottom. Not spooky font anymore because spooky season's over. Still somewhat unreadable. And so my bad. My bad. So we're gonna be talking about what happened this week. A little celebratory. You guys know what team I was on, Team Trumpster. So obviously I'm fairly happy. Uh, I'm fairly impressed with myself. I'm impressed with you guys for staying white pilled the entire time. It was getting touch and go there, especially that night for a little while, and then things started to pick up. And we were all expecting something crazy to happen early in the morning, but nothing did. And so look at us now. Now, while it does all seem fine and dandy, the world's turning around fairly quickly, and Trump's not even in office. Guys, I can't tell you how glued to my crypto I've been lately. Super excited. You might see something fancy in the studio coming up if crypto keeps moving up. Maybe I'll buy like a cool lava lamp, something fun with my crypto earnings. Either way, just a heads up. If you like this podcast, go and like and subscribe. We are the media now, and we're going to talk about that. And just so you know that MSNBC, CNN, all the credibility is lost. And how do we know? Because Trump's in office, and they did everything they could to make sure that didn't happen. So letting you know, no one believes them anymore, or at least more than half the country does not believe them whatsoever. So all of us podcasters in the podcast sphere, maybe not me, but all the other ones, they're doing a great job. I appreciate them. We are the media now. You can, and to support the new media, which is us, you can go to, let me try this out real quick. You can go to pardonwill.com is my website. Let me share this real quick. Go to pardonwill.com. You can support the podcast there. You can buy a book. And if you scroll down further, you can get a signed copy. It's just like it's a few dollars extra, but hey, it's me. I sign it and I mail it to you. But just a heads up, Christmas is around the corner. And if you got a family member or friend or something like that, and you're like, I don't get them something, but I want something unique, you can also go to Comic Art right here and peruse my gallery. This is all stuff I have up on the Etsy. It's all for sale. And I've got stuff all over the nerd fandoms. So you like Star Wars, you like Marvel, you like Doctor Who, Harry Potter, all kinds of fun stuff. Old school 80s movies like Back to the Future, Lord of the Rings, Spider-Man, even some off the ones like Rick and Morty. I got the portal gun here, or the first blade from Supernatural. Um, all kinds of fun stuff, guys. You can go there, support the podcast, buy art. I'm not asking for free money. I'm just asking that you have a great time. And that's how we do. Guys, man, what a week. So let's go and get started. Let me give you here's a caveat. You guys know the drill. We have a good time on here. Got a morning joke clip. Especially I feel like, let's be honest, I feel like this is like the 100th episode. I feel like we hit a milestone, even though I'm not sure we did. But to be honest, doing this live for the past year, it felt like all I talked about was politics leading up to this election. And basically that's what it was, with a little bit of culture stuff mixed in here and there, but it's mostly been politics. And to get to this point in time, kind of feels like we did something. I don't know, I can't say what we did. Well, we got Trump in, but still feels like we hit a milestone. So I wanted to do like, well, let's just have a fun night where we just watch lefties melt down on TikTok. I was like, that would be the go-to, right? Everyone's doing that. I would like to do that. That's a good time. Watch them screaming and shouting and talking. I was like, that seems like the right path to go. But I'm flipping the script. We're not gonna watch lefties melt down today. And this is a bummer for everybody. We're gonna be a little serious tonight. And I know funny David's funny, serious David's a bore. Trust me, I know. But I think it's important. Plus, you got to change it up over once in a while. And we've had such a great week. I thought maybe all right. Let's talk shop real quick. And so just a heads up, this is where this episode's going. Um, I had some time to sit down and reflect over the past year. I was like, well, what am I doing live? And I have my reasons for doing this live thing. And it started off differently. I was kind of just building up to doing some other projects that I wanted to do live, but I was like, well, I'll just do a Sunday night where I'll just chit chat about stuff going on in the news. And it slowly developed into a political thing because that's everywhere and it goes it just does politics is in everything. And so it just seemed to happen that Sunday nights, Pardon Live at 8:30, turned out to be kind of a political show. Which is fine, dandy. I don't mind. But you guys know me, I'm not super intellectual when it comes to politics. Never ran campaigns, never been in one, don't really know what's going on half the time. But the thing I focused on the most over the past year was the media and all the media attempts to lie. And not as if like, well, just me coming on being like the media lies. I specifically wanted to show you clips, and I picked Morning Joe because he was just the easiest one. But they all did it. I just would watch clips for the past year. We've sat down every Sunday and just watched clips of the news. Been like, what are they saying here? Obviously, this is wrong. And it was just constant lie after lie after lie. And it wasn't as if we just critiqued them or made fun of them. We did that too, but we also just talked about it. And the reason I did that is because ever since COVID in 2020, it seemed like the people who had common sense or were somewhat grounded in reality, and even people who had some doubts, just made sense for you to, if you're ostracized from the main sphere of institutions and the media and Hollywood, and when you're kind of outside that bubble and you're still being like, well, I still feel like a man is a man, a female is a female, and I don't know, all this stuff the news is telling me doesn't seem to add up. I want to make sure you didn't think you were crazy, because I knew, like, going into this, watching news clips and seeing them on Twitter all the time, I was like, these. I understand why people don't think Trump's Hitler. Like, I get it. Like, it's not lost on me that people hate Trump. I understand. I live in New York. Trust me, I understand people hating Trump. And the more you look at it, the more you're like, well, if you're fed the same narrative all day, every day, no matter what, of course you're going to believe that. Because to say Trump's not Hitler, you're kind of saying, well, then everything that I've believed from the news and the institutions and my college professors and all that, how am I supposed to believe anything if they're telling me this one lie? And so I knew that this was going to come down to most people watching the news and slowly being fed lies. I wanted to make sure they didn't feel weird, um, and feeling ostracized, being like, well, I don't agree with Morning Joe, and I don't agree with these institutions, and I don't agree with Hollywood. Am I the weird one? No, you're not. And that's the whole point of Pardon Life, just to make sure you didn't feel alone, and to reassurance that you're not weird, even though everything around you is telling you you are, and that you're Hitler and you're a Nazi and you're racist and you're a bigot. And I wanted to bring in all aspects, media, news, all that stuff. But the main one I focused on was the news, because it's the most culturally relevant. Not everybody watches Marvel, not everybody watches Star Wars, but the news on every channel saying the same thing all the time. Most likely you've heard it. So that's a short spiel what Pardon Will Live developed into. And the reason why I'm avoiding left-wing meltdowns is because all of the things that I was trying to do on this thing for the past year didn't reach everybody. Obviously, not everybody watches Pardon Live. Had it reached them, maybe the meltdowns wouldn't be so severe. But it didn't reach everybody. And it actually kind of makes me a little concerned about what the future is going forward. So we're going to watch some clips. I'm going to try to make a few jokes, but we're really going to talk about mental health, and just talk about how people on this side of the political spectrum should move forward. Do we break out the big guns, metaphorically, or do we play with kid gloves to the losing side? What's good sportsmanship? What's a Christian ethic moving forward? And all that boring stuff. We're going to chat about that because I think it is important. But we are going to watch one clip that to be honest, I couldn't pass up. I was like, well, I'm not going to, and I'll explain why. There's a deeper reason why I'm not doing lefty meltdowns. I'm going to show you one, and it's going to set the tone for what I'm about to go through, just so you understand why the title "Sorry While Not Sorry" is prevalent. Because while I am concerned for my fellow Americans who are having meltdowns because they believe Hitler is going to rule for the next 4 years and there's never going to be elections again, I'm not sorry, because there has to be some responsibility taken. So either way, we're going to watch this one clip because it is what it is. So buckle up. This is going to set the tone for the rest of the night.
Okay, so we're closing in on almost 5 p.m. Eastern Time, and I've been tracking everything that's been going on across the country today.
No, for reference, just in case you don't pick it up right off the bat, this lady filmed this election night at 5 p.m. is what she's talking about. So this is pre-election, and we're just going to see what her experience was at 5 p.m. Tuesday night.
country today. And my most important encounter was when I went out to get my champagne. I was talking to the guy in the store, of course, asking him, did he vote? And he said he did early voting, and he asked me if I early voted. And he asked me, why I was getting the champagne. And I said, because I'm going to be toasting Madam President tonight. And he just looked at me with kind of like a smirk on his face. And I said, she's going to win this, right? And he says, oh, well, it's very, very close. And I said, no, it's not. He says, well, what do you mean? I said, no, it's not. The women of America are making their voices heard. Reproductive rights is what it all comes down to. And the women are...
All right, I'm going to pause it. We're not going to talk about exactly what she's talking about, but I did want to point out something. And this is why it's hard to be sorry. Even in her own story, she's overly confident, and even without knowing what the election was going to end up being, she's the villain in her own story. If you didn't notice that, she walked into a guy that's working. She's like, "Did you vote early?" He's like, "Yeah." "Did you vote early?" She's like, "Yeah." And he goes, "What's the champagne for?" She's like, "Well, I know who's going to be president." He's like, "Well, it seems kind of neck and neck." So he's the moderate, nuanced guy. Of course, he's working. He's trying to be polite. And she's like, no, you're wrong. Like, in her story, she's the villain. But she doesn't know that. She doesn't know that. They don't know. They don't know that they're the baddies. She doesn't clue in on this. She thinks the guy behind the cash register is a Nazi bigot racist. And she's telling truth to power to the cashier, ringing her out at the liquor store. The guy working at the liquor store, well, she's a political analyst. I don't know if you caught that at the beginning. Her job is a political analyst. She does this, and she said that. She goes, well, I'm a political analyst, right at the beginning. The condescending, just the patronizing of her fellow American who's being nuanced in the entire situation. This is what I'm saying. They don't know they're the baddies because they don't know what bad is. They only know power. And when you only think power, you only come off as one particular thing. You end up being the villain in your own story. Totally oblivious to that. Anyway, we're gonna finish this off.
In numbers relative to men that are unbelievable. She's won this, and I said to him, she's going to take every one of the swing states plus Iowa. And he said, oh, but the numbers are so close. I said, I'm a political analyst. I'm telling you right now, the numbers are there. She's taking this election. And then I said to him, you realize, and he didn't.
She's a political analyst, guys. How'd that turn out? But it's not even like, hey, I'm a political. She could have been like, no, look, to be honest, I'm a political analyst. I've ran the numbers. It really does seem like she's going to win. So I'm going to toast it. Hopefully you voted for her. This is what I would have done. But instead she's like, what's with the cackling? Is it like a hysteria thing where they all just got like it's the woke mind virus that Elon talks about? She's just laughing at this guy. Like, I'm a political analyst. I know she's won. And she can't stop laughing about it. The condescension, the patronizing, the just looking down on other people. And she thinks she's the hero.
Who he voted for, but of course I knew. And I said, you do realize you wasted your vote, right?
Like, really?
I didn't care. I walked out with my bottle of champagne and happily walked home.
Like, to be honest, when I first saw this, I was like, oh, this is a bit. This is a bit. But now I'm like, look at her eyes. This isn't a bit. She is like giddy for this. Giddy. Like, and she posted this and then left it up. And that's why I was like, well, this has got to be a bit. But what if this isn't a bit? Like, watch this end. Tell me this isn't the cackling of a witch. Like, this is rough.
Wasted your vote, right? And I didn't care. I walked out with my bottle of champagne and happily walked home. Bye-bye.
Wow. Bye-bye is right. Bye-bye was a great sign-off on that one. Anyway, just want to share that to give you guys a tone of what we're about to go through. Not just in the future, but in this podcast alone. So I sat on this for a while because I try to be as nuanced as possible. Again, I'm not even a Republican. I wasn't hard into the Trump camp until right about mid-spring is when I decided. But one of the reasons why I switched to Trump is because he decided to go to the LNC. And the LNC is the Libertarian National Convention. And he got invited. He showed up. Biden got invited, didn't show up. But either way, I was like, that's cool. Good on him. I know he's trying to get their votes, but also good on the LNC for bringing Trump in. That'll be really cool to see libertarians and the Trump team kind of come together as civil. Nope, libertarians acted like fools the whole time Trump was there. And that was the first thing for me to be like, yeah, I don't know if I can do the libertarian thing this year. If that's what my fellow libertarians are doing, and again, I'm not a real libertarian, but if that's what my friends, fellow libertarians are doing, just acting like children, and condescending ones at that, then I don't really want to be a part of that. So watching videos like this, I mean, like obviously I chose the right side because whatever that is, I don't want. And again, she's not like the head of the Democrat Party, but guys, I have a folder of videos. It was hard to figure out what I was going to do tonight because there was just so much. Like so much. I still have stuff. I was like, I don't know. I have material. We could do Pardon One Live for the next 3 months off stuff I got from this week. And so I had to choose wisely. But that's a lot of it's this. A lot of it's this. And it's not this before the election. It's the witch cackling after the election. After the election. Let me show you one of the things. This is what makes me weird. Let me show you. I'm going to show you a tweet. I'm trying to decide how I'm gonna full screen this real quick. I'm gonna do one of these so you can read this out. We're gonna go through this. So Jojo from Jersey, I know she's a grifter for the most part, but she's a very popular Democrat on the left. This was posted November 6th, obviously the day after. And again, take this with a grain of salt. These people are grifters. They're just trying to get engagement. But this tweet does have 98,000 likes. It says, "Daddy, ? Yes, Johnny. King Trump deported my friends, closed my school, forced me to work in a factory, and let mommy die when she was pregnant with my little sister. So why did you vote for him?" The dad's answer, "Because the price of eggs was too high, son." Again, it's like, well, that's just some random person on the internet with 98,000 likes. Now, it's so ridiculous that I'm hoping people liked it because they just like, this satire is hilarious. But how many of those 98,000 are not? These are people like, yeah, this is the world. I saw so many videos where people like shaving heads and like freaking out, like, I need to find a hiding spot. Are we going to be my favorite part was all of these left wingers were sharing 4-year-old right wing memes about being friends in concentration camps. It's wild. They just regurgitated 4-year-old memes from the right wing about how the election's stolen, and it's wild. Anyway, the comment underneath this I thought was funny is this is why you lost. You guys have just come across as hyperbolic nut jobs. Is that wrong? Tell me that's why is that why they lost? Maybe, or maybe not. But it doesn't help. None of that helps. And this is after the election. None of that helps. And it's almost as if they just don't know it doesn't help. And that's kind of my point. Like, there's so much material out there. You could just sat there and just flip through it. And I know that's not every Democrat. And so that's why I wanted to talk about this tonight. Sorry, while not being sorry. I am sorry because a lot of the meltdowns that we saw came from mainstream media. It came from the news because it was constant gaslighting for years now, all the way back to like 2015, just gaslighting and lies and gaslighting. And then even when the lies came apart, how many Democrats talk about Russiagate? And when they do talk about Russiagate, they still think it was real. And I brought this up last time. I was like, SNL did skits on Russiagate for like 3 years, just making fun. Like, we're just waiting for the Mueller report. It's going to come out. It wasn't just in the news. It was in everything. Literally everything you would watch. Any kind of art, media. And that's what I'm saying. Like, I'm a culture guy. Like, I love watching movies and stuff like that. I'm wearing a Marvel t-shirt. I love that stuff. And I've just gotten over the fact that all my favorite actors are completely insane, or they're being paid, and that means they're disingenuous. But the whole point of this whole thing was, I don't think Kamala lost, and the Democrats have lost, and the media lost because they've lost. Everybody all the institutions lost with Trump winning. I don't think I don't think there was one answer why they did. I think there was multiple answers. But we're going to watch Morning Joe because Morning Joe, you can't have a Partner Live without Morning Joe. So let's take a look at this clip. And it has the same flavor as when Morning Joe was like Biden's coaching, and then the day they kicked Biden out that weekend, Morning Joe was like, "We saw it all along, and we just need to send him off." Well, anyway, let's watch this Morning Joe clip because it's not just one thing. I think it's a cavalcade of multiple things, and I'm going to sum that multiple things up at the end, and we're going to put a nice little bow on it. So we got a bunch of clips. Let's go through this Morning Joe.
Democrats are going to have to confront some realities that they haven't wanted to confront in the past. They didn't want to confront the past issues on the border. It took them too long to confront that. We talked about a transgender inmate ad that ran 30,000 times that the Democrats refused to respond to, despite the fact it was Donald Trump's own policy, because I guess some people in the campaign, and we talked about this before, thought it might be, maybe they were too woke to actually respond to a false ad, and maybe they were afraid that they would be attacked by their own base. There are so many questions for the Democrats to answer, but one of them, the one that I just saw that's going to be staring them in the face for some time if they don't do something about it.
I don't know if you got this. So he's doing a summarization. He's saying all these things are things Democrats have to answer for. So he's doing the same thing I just did. He's kind of recapping on. There's a bunch of different things. He picks one. Tell me what you think on the top of the hour. I mean, everybody has their idea what it was. But here's Morning Joe's.
Is that 45% of Hispanics voted for Donald Trump?
45.
That is George W. Bush. I remember when George W. Bush got 44% of the vote.
Hey, can I point out one thing? This is November 6th, this clip's when I pulled it. Mika's wearing all black. Like it's a friggin' funeral. That's chef's kiss. Good job on you, Mika.
In 2004, it sent shockwaves. Yeah. This also, if you look at this, if you look at younger voters, you look at all these different, we've all been talking about a new Republican Party. There needs to be a new Republican Party. This morning, this is about as bleak as any time for Democrats since the so-called 1984 San Francisco Democrats. It's time for the Democrats to take a good, long, hard look at how this happened. And if they just say Trump bad, Democrats virtuous, they're going to keep losing. Because this, again, is so widespread. This is not about just Donald Trump. This is about the Democratic Party and being radically disconnected from the rest of the country.
Morning Joe, coming in with some truth bombs. Radically disconnected. At least he's pointing out the idea that even the demographics that used to go for Democrats are turning to Trump. We saw that in sweep. This was legitimately a red wave. Could have been bigger, but I'll take the red wave as we get it. Morning Joe's not technically wrong. It is like the Democrats were not able to connect, and there again, there's multiple reasons why they didn't. Just slip up after slip up. But the fact that they had all the endorsements, there's a bunch of clips I almost played, but I didn't put them on here. A ton of news people, along with Morning Joe, being like, the Democrats ran the perfect campaign. At least Morning Joe picked up on something, and he's telling you, he's like, obviously it wasn't a perfect campaign. But a ton of them, people on The View, which I never play clips from The View because I can't do it. I just can't do it. But yeah, I think that was a perfect campaign. All the celebrities came out for Kamala. What went wrong? What went wrong? The only thing I have a critique on Morning Joe is he's concerned about the Democratic Party moving forward. The Republicans need a new Republican Party because they're, obviously Trump is bad. But the Democrats might need to take a long, hard look at the Democrat Party because we probably really need to refocus on what this party is doing. What about just take a look at you or America? Again, they're only concerned about the politics. They're only concerned about their party. We need to focus on being a better party. Why don't you focus on trying to make America great? That seems to work really well. I don't know. Don't ask me. Ask this past Tuesday. Apparently making America great does work, no matter what you're doing behind it, no matter what your party looks like. Because I don't know if you guys remember this, a year ago today, we didn't even know Trump was going to be the primary runner. We also thought Biden was going to stick around too. But no. It turns out that, when you run a primary, the people who come out to vote end up getting what they want. The more the people, and so you don't technically need to reform the Republican Party. The people will do that for you if you let them elect them. But yeah, he still blames the Democrat Party, which is fair. I get it, but again, it's only half truth. They're only focusing on politics. They're only trying to figure out how to make the Democratic Party appealing to people that they lost. Instead, they're not. No concern for the America. No concern about the unity of America. No concern about bringing America out to be able to understand the reality. Maybe understanding conservatives. They don't really care about understanding conservatives. They just want to figure out how to get these younger and Latino and Black voters back. That's all they care about. The thing that makes this difficult for me is because with media, it's hard. Like all the meltdown videos, all the the libtards or whatever the right likes to call them, all the Democrats. I have Democrat friends. I got people who didn't vote. I've got Republican friends who didn't vote for Trump because they just couldn't stomach it. I've got Democrat friends who didn't vote at all because they didn't like Kamala. And I have Democrat friends. When I say Democrat friends, I mean like people I bump into at store, like friends who voted for Kamala. And none of them have lost their mind, luckily, yet that I know of. But none of them are, but they're all fairly sane people. The only thing I notice is they don't look at the world the way I look at it. And the reason why I don't think they look at the world the way I look at it is because their point of reference is a consensus of not reality, but the people around them. And most of these people obviously are up here in New York. But the consensus is not like, well, this seems kind of weird. Like the skeptical person that I am, the people around me, who were skeptical in 2020, who got ostracized then and told that we wanted to kill grandma and, told that we wanted to, wanted this virus to take out children and everything. We care less and we need to mask up at all times and we need to get the jab and all that. We went through all of that. And it was difficult. I'm not gonna say it was easy. It was difficult for a lot of other people. Me, it was a little bit easier because I'm prone to whatever that is. Got that teenage angst, that rebellion in me. But from there, we went all the way into once Trump was the primary elect, we went all the way into now I'm a Nazi, now I'm a bigot, now I'm a racist. Now I don't like Kamala because she's a Black woman. We're gonna talk about that in a minute. But that was my point. Is you get all the people who voted, all the people I know vote for Kamala, still believe that they still believe the experts, which is fair. Like we grew up being told that. They still watch the news and believe when the news talk to you because we grew up that way. They still believe their professors, their teachers, their institutions, all the people in power, they believe them because why not? They've been in charge this whole time since we were young. I don't blame them. I blame the people at the top. That's what makes this different. That's why I'm sorry, because the people who've been lied to that are struggling right now, not my friends who Democrats are like, oh, that sucks. Maybe gas will be affordable. I'll live with this. But the people melting down, they're actually victims. They're actually victims. They've been lied to and gaslit their entire existence, and especially the past 8 years, to believe something that wasn't actually real. And had they not had so much faith in the institutions and maybe faith in reality or things around them, then they would have woken up a long time ago. And then they wouldn't be this close to the edge of the cliff. And they had plenty. The problem is, I feel bad for them. I'm sorry for them. But there was plenty of time before that. I mean, plenty of time before that to just pay slight bit attention to what was going on the outskirts. What was going on to the people that were obviously the majority of America at this point in time. There's plenty of time. And I can't take all of responsibility away from these people and put it on the media. And that's where I'm stuck. I can't take all the responsibility away from these individual people, these people having meltdowns right now and saying elections. I can't take their responsibility completely away from them and put it on just the institutions. I got to hold up some responsibility. But this doesn't help because it's not stopping. And that I thought was going to be different, but lo and behold, it doesn't. I got another clip for you. This is what I mean when it's never a good argument. We got called Nazis. We got called maggots. We got called garbage by the sitting president. I was told years ago that I was about to go through a winter of sickness and death because I didn't get jabbed. Just constantly put to the back burner. Found out a Daily Wire article came out that the FEMA actually sent out a letter to people in North Carolina to make sure to skip over, kind of like Passover, people with Trump signs in the yard. Kind of weird. Kind of weird how this whole system, this regime, this machine that I've been talking about seems to be against all those people. And you would think someone would wake up on the news and be like, yeah, no. Maybe we overplayed our hands. Maybe there was something else. But nope, this is what they're going to go with. Ready for this? Here's a clip. Why did Trump win?
I think there are a lot of families out there who don't believe boys should play girls' sports.
They're not boys. I'm not going to listen to transphobia at this table. I am not going to listen to you call a trans girl a boy.
Are you going to allow me to finish my explanation?
When you use a word that's a slur, I'm going to interrupt. That's not how it is. They're not boys. They're not boys. They're not playing girls' softball. I'm not going to sit there and listen to that.
Let's reset for a second because, look, this is a really...
I'm going to pause it. This is why I can't put all the blame on the media. Because this conversation right now, I've had these in person, in real life. We tried to have conversations. Like we've tried. Like, and with tolerance, going the extra mile. Okay, maybe this, maybe it wasn't in a lab. Maybe it was a market, a wet market. Maybe. Well, let's talk about it. What does this seem? Nope. You're racist. Maybe, people struggle with, body dysmorphia and when they get older, they can make a decision. But do we really need to give puberty blockers to children? Now I'm transphobic. Well, maybe, 9-month abortions, that might be a little push. Oh, now I want to take away women's freedoms. We tried to have conversations. We tried. Like we went above and beyond. We went moving forward. All the stats came out and said conservatives understand how liberals think because, and I told you this before, because everything around a conservative, all the institutions, all the media, all the news, every time you flip open the TV outside of podcasts was nothing but left-wing propaganda. So of course conservatives know how left-wingers think. That's all we hear. So why aren't we left-wing because reality played its hand and its hand was strong. And so you either understood like some things are right and some things are wrong, or we had conversations with other people being like, hey, that thing that you believed in the mirror? Why don't we talk about that for a little bit? And those of people around you that were willing to have a conversation, they're not losing their minds right now because they were willing to have it. Not like this guy. Not like this guy. Let's watch the beginning of this clip again.
I think there are a lot of families out there who don't believe boys should play.
He's just starting off very calmly. He goes, I think, and he's telling, not like this is his point of view. He's going, I think the reason why Trump won is because I think there's a lot of families out there that don't think boys should play girls' sports. That's what he said. Very calm, very nuanced, not even taking that position, just letting him know that's what he thinks maybe Americans thought.
Girls' sports.
They're not boys. I'm not going to listen to transphobia at this table. I am not going to listen to you call a trans girl a boy.
Are you going to allow me to finish?
Past 8 years, this is what we've been dealing with. The past 8 years. That's why I have a hard time blaming it all on the media. Because you got to take some responsibility. At some point in time, you got to be like, well, I'm not willing to have a conversation with this bigot. Or he's racist. Or he's a Nazi. Or he's xenophobic. He's throwing out things. You refuse to have conversations. And this is why you lose. And this is why not only do you lose, that you have a meltdown. That your entire psyche is disabled. That it's actually hurting you. This is what happens if you would have just had conversations. You would just heard the other person out. Look, I've had tons of conversations with left-wingers. And the reason I have conversations, because I want to genuinely be like, am I missing something? Because I have to ask the question, am I missing something? Because all of the media institutions, they're all telling me I'm missing something. Orange Man is bad. Okay, tell me this, because every time I watch the Orange Man, and every time he says something that you say is bad, it's taken completely out of context. So explain this to me, where you got the Orange Man is bad thing. Oh, he's a convicted felon. Did you look into those cases? Number one, when did you guys care about felonies? You guys just let people out when they murder people. Like, oh, that guy mugged that guy in the subway. We're just going to let him go. When did you start caring about the justice system at all? And to be honest, when did right-wingers start to lose faith in the justice system? When we started to look at the cases. Like, if you would have took me a year ago when they raided Mar-a-Lago and you're like, David, how confident are you that Trump is innocent? Not super confident. I'm totally willing to hear this out. Trump's a politician. I don't trust them very well. And now take me a year later. Oh, I've watched all the cases, looked into them, and then had conversations with lefties about the cases. And at the end of the day, when he got convicted, he raised a ton of money. Why do you think that was? Do you think people are just like, oh, Trump's a felon, but I like felons now? No, we watched, we had conversations, we paid attention. We saw what the cases were about. We were like, wait, what does this one mean? Whereas allocated different resources. When did they start charging for that? Oh, they just made that one up this year to charge Trump. And then once you pull a brick out of that wall, the whole thing crumbles. We were willing to have conversations and you weren't. The left they weren't willing. They were just going to call you a racist, xenophobic bigot. That's just once you started to try to come and you weren't on that side, you were labeled. You were labeled. Not only were your ideas like this, you try to have conversations over it, just you being you.
What is the lesson that your party should have learned?
Well, the Democratic Party worked very hard, and they raised, substantial sum of money. We had great candidates, and so Trump had a following, basically generally led by whites. White males voted in big numbers. He had a few from the other race groups that joined in, like the Latinos at 45%, and black men at about the same rate that they did when they voted for him.
I'd like to congratulate all the Latinos and black men that have now joined the side of whiteness. All of you white people. It wasn't even the fact that we were trying to have conversations or that we wanted to share our ideas. They were dismissed outright before you even opened your mouth. You want to know why? Because at the end of the day, why did the Democrats lose? Because your skin color. It's because your skin color. It's what you look like. It's where you're from. That's it. And it's not even your skin color now. Now it's all black dudes too. All you black dudes who vote for Trump, you're white now. Congratulations. Latinos, you're white too. Ladies who voted for Trump, you're male now. This is what we do. It's identity politics, and men can be women and women can be men. And now everybody who voted for Trump are now Nazis because, you can just flip the script anytime you want. That's what they pulled. That's what Maxine Waters pulled away from this. What could the Democrat Party have done differently? Her literal answer was, we ran a great campaign, raised a ton of money. There was nothing we can do because of the whites and the Latinos and black and, Asians and over half of America, popular vote and electoral college. Yeah, but mostly because the whites, or maybe it's just who they were afraid of.
Before at about 20%, that combination won. And so it is not that Democrats did not work hard, did not do a great job. We had an unusual situation where we had a black woman, which this country has never seen
I should have
before.
Just want to pause at the wrong section. We've had a black woman that this country's never seen before. No, I'm joking. I know what you're talking about. Black woman president. Never seen that running before. Although she did get elected to vice president, which is like one step down, right? Right? Right. Just one tick from the, just one step down from the president. But when she was trying to run for president, no, that's way too close. Man, if Democrats would have hired me, I could explain this a lot better. But they got, every one of these people have one trick ponies. It's all one or two different things. It's never what the real answer is. But
a combination of all of those things led to his win.
I will not push back on the idea that race and sex matter in America and politics. I think they do. I don't know that it was the controlling variable, and you don't suggest otherwise. To me...
Actually, she did. She did just suggest otherwise, guys. Not the Democrats' fault. It's yours. Inflation's not actually happening. Well, it is happening, but it's not really bad. It is happening and it's good. Oh, it's happening and it's your fault. That's how this works. We got a comment coming in from True Hype saying these conversations are like the ones on Clubhouse. That's exactly what he said, CH. I know what he's talking about. That's exactly what I'm talking about. I've been having these me and True Hype have been having these conversations for years now. That's why these clips don't surprise me. That also is why I know how these people think, because I've had conversations with them while they called me a racist and a bigot and a Nazi for hours, just giving my time, giving my effort, hopefully to wake somebody up, hopefully to get through the propaganda, and rarely did it work. Now, the other thing that I wanted to point out that made this difficult, the sorry, not sorry thing. We've gone through the propaganda, we've gone through the blaming, we've gone through the race part thing you couldn't really help. They're blaming that on the Trump win. The one I'm not pulling up that I almost did, but I didn't want to share any names. It's a Twitter. It's mostly an internet thing. A lot on Twitter. A lot of big named, big name Christians. We'll say that, pastors, stuff like that, coming out and really pounding hard on any Christian who would call themselves a Christian who would support or vote for Trump. They really need to take a long, hard look at what it means to love thy neighbor. Doesn't seem like Trump would support. I mean, it doesn't seem like Jesus would support Trump. So how could you Christians support Trump? Never bringing up how could you Christians support Kamala, because that one's a slam daggum dunk. That's shooting fish in a barrel. So none of these Christians brought that part up. No. All they did was to make sure to lambaste you Christian for voting for a guy who, is not morally inept. Not the shining beacon of all moral truths and practices and behaviors. And because of that, you shouldn't call yourself a Christian. I got a ton of that on the internet over the past year. And every time I thought to myself, they attack your identity. They don't attack your arguments. They attack your arguments with just calling you a racist or bigot. Now they're attacking the probably most deepest part of your truth, your faith, and your moral standing. They just went after that without having an actual conversation of being like, well, why as a Christian would you support Trump when he does all these bad? He's a convicted felon. He came out with the Trump Bible. He likes to grab them by the you-know-whats, and he has a ton of failed businesses. Why you as a Christian would you vote for Trump? Well, maybe because I don't expect Trump to be Jesus. And I don't think he's a lesser of two evils. I think he is I think a lot of things, but I don't think voting has to play a part necessarily in my moral understanding of what the gospel means. And the reason that I say that is because when people say, how can you vote for Trump if you love thy neighbor? What they're mostly talking about, let's break this simple one down real quick. Love thy neighbor. They're signaling the idea of mass deportations, and they're always bringing up, how can you be a Christian and you want to turn these, refugees away, these asylum seekers? Jesus says to give them refuge, to feed them, to reach your hand out and take care of them. Yes, Jesus definitely says you should do that, but Jesus never brings up the idea that the government should do it for you. That's number one. Number two, when you say love thy neighbor, what neighbor are you talking about? Are you talking about all your neighbors? Because if you're gonna equate everyone, like these Christians tend to do, the entire world as their neighbor, then somebody's getting the short end of the stick. And why do you say that? Because loving, quote unquote, whatever their definition of quote unquote love is, which I can tell you it's most likely fallible, because they don't understand loving outside of a virtue signal, which is exactly why they're tweeting on Twitter their moral stance. I'd love to see their skeletons in their closet. Guarantee loving thy neighbor, it turns out to be something they shouldn't check on a hard drive. The idea that loving thy neighbor means you need to love everyone equally. This is why that sounds the most ridiculous. Jesus didn't even love us all men equally. Yes, in the value of sacrificing himself, but he definitely cared for the disciples more than the 5,000 that he fed with fish. He treated them different than everyone else too. So when you bring up the idea of love, what does love mean? Is it all encompassing? What they're talking about is you need to be kind and empathetic to literally everyone, to the point where it's always you at the bottom. The problem is there needs to be a hierarchy of needs when it comes to responsibility. This is a very teenage, immature way of looking at what it means to love thy neighbor. Do you expect me to love my neighbor as much as I love my wife? How about care for my neighbor the way I care for my wife or my kids or my family or my closest friends? I'm going to differentiate those two. And if loving a stranger comes at the sacrifice of the well-being or even life of my family or friends, I'm not going to do that, because that's not love. What real love is wanting the best for those around you and those who come into contact with. If an asylum seeker is let in by the government to a country that can't sustain them, it doesn't just hurt my friends and family, it hurts them as well, because they believe it was well prepared when it wasn't. They don't understand that it was a political tactic to get more votes by whatever Democrat party or whatever regime you want to talk about it. They're being used, and now they're brought in to a country that wasn't ready for them. You not believe that there's going to be some genuine animosity towards the people living in hotels, getting paychecks and getting free food versus the people who are struggling to survive and pay groceries. That's not loving your neighbor. That's just you being human. And you can love the asylum seeker and still want them to go back. You can do that because it might be better off that they're back in their home country or back across the border or back in whatever. It might be better off for them too, because you want the best for them. What I don't want is I don't want to open a door for them to come into a situation that's not going to be good for them. And we obviously understand, giving them free housing, giving them free food and all that stuff. That sure does sound good to them. But does it do good for the soul? I don't know. How about the soul of the country? How's the soul of the country doing right now? Well, I can tell you it's healing. That idea of loving your neighbor with no defining terms of what that even means or defining people around you, what that means. Sure, you can interpret it however you want, but it's such an immature way of looking at things. I love refugees that come to this country. I do not like the system that let them in. You can do both because we're adults. And that's how you should look at it. So when I'm mad about legal immigration, am I mad that people cross the border? No, because I would do that. You know what I'm mad at is the people who let it happen. It's not the refugees' fault. It's the government's fault. Sorry, I'm not sorry. That's the point. You don't have to hate immigrants. Most right-wingers don't hate immigrants. They hate the system that let them in. That's the point. But you lefties don't understand that because every right-winger is a caricature of a mini Trump. And the reason they think they're a caricature because they won't have conversations with them because they're too quick to call him a racist bigot and be like, well, you're just a white guy. That's why you voted for Trump. And now if you're a black and Hispanic, you just voted for Trump too because whiteness or whatever. Anyway, that was my rant. The Christians really got to me, because they're trying to make sure every grandma out there who voted for Trump, who loves to go to church on Sunday mornings, feels like a complete satanic worshiper because she's afraid of the illegal immigrants in her town that are putting, whatever situation is that is unwanted. When she's just trying to pray for them and hopefully she's probably giving them food. She doesn't like the fact the government let them in and force them onto a civilization as if that's love. It's mind-blowing. All these Christians who think they should love thy neighbor, when does that extend to you letting them into your house? Because I've done that before. Have they done that before? If you really start to ask these quote-unquote Christians and their moral fortitude, how far does it extend? You'll see it's extremely shallow. But you can't ask them that because they won't have conversations with you. And that's how you know. One more thing. We're still not even I haven't tied this up in a bow yet. I'm going to tell you why the Democrats lost. I'm going to tell you why the Democrats lost. And Drew Hype came in with his prediction, and he might be right. This was for Peanut and for Fred. To be honest, maybe that's what got Trump over got him right over the thing. I voted before the Peanut Fred thing, but if I could have voted again for Peanut and Fred, I would have. I'm going to skip. I got one more clip. So we had clips. I'm going to skip one and we're going to tie this in. One more. Let's do this. I'm going to share this with you guys because I thought this was extremely interesting. Bro. So make sure I went over a thing. Yep. So Tim Walz came out after, of course, we got to bring Tim Walz up. He's my favorite. Tim Walz came out after the election and gave a little speech, and I thought it was kind-hearted speech. I thought it was very moderate, very nuanced. He even made a joke that I thought that wasn't a bad joke. So I don't know where this Tim Walz has been this whole time, but as soon as he stops doing jazz hands and kicking jazz feet and pretending like he's in a rendition of West Side Story, he stopped for a minute and spoke clearly into a microphone without lying about China. He did a pretty decent job, but I'm going to bring up one thing after we watch this because I've got one caveat. Of course, I have a caveat about this. So, let me start this over. I'm going to full screen this real quick
for them. Talk about the things that really. I think sometimes we can be quick to judge people who don't agree with us, to assume that they act out of cruelty or fear or self-interest. I don't think that kind of judgment is helpful right now, and I don't think it's right. I think we ought to swallow, and this is me in this as I'm speaking about myself, swallow a little bit of pride and look a little harder to find common ground with our neighbors who didn't vote like we did in this election. Maybe we won't agree on every issue. Hell, maybe we won't agree on any issue. But maybe when the campaign signs come down, we all get a little break from the rhetoric and the TV ads and the fundraising texts, and I'm sorry about those. Maybe when we get a little break from this campaign that we're in, we'll be able to look at each other and see not enemies but neighbors. And maybe we'll be able to sit down over coffee or a Diet Mountain Dew and just talk. Talk about our kids. Talk about the lives we want to build for them. Talk about the things that really matter, how we treat each other, how we look out for each other, and how we support each other in difficult times.
Not bad. Not bad for old Timmy Waltz. Here's the problem. It's coming from a guy who set up a snitch line during COVID so you could rat on your neighbors who are having too many people at their Thanksgiving party. This is the guy who let his cities burn over race riots. This is the guy who was completely okay with putting tampons in boys' bathrooms because they thought they were necessary. Basically, what I'm saying is inauthentic. Even with the cool politician-y speech about toning down the rhetoric and seeing each other as neighbors and speak, let's talk to each other for one. Really? Now is a good time to talk. Now you want to have a sit-down conversation and chit-chat. He's not wrong. The problem with that speech is it was coming out of his mouth. That's the problem. The problem with the Democrat Party and why they lost is not just one thing or the other, or the trans things, or the medical, or making abortion your top one issue, or making these, or running Kamala, who is completely insufferable and unlikable. If I had to deal with 4 years of that cackling witch and 4 years of Tim Walz's jazz hands, would have lost it too, just like the lefties. Luckily, we don't have to deal with that, and it's turning around already. But on top of all that, the reason why they lost is, number one, it's a white pill. That means that half of America saw through it. And the thing that they saw through was inauthenticity. They're just not real. It was all inauthentic. They're not authentic people. We watched it, and not just the lies, the fact that every time they spoke, you could see it in their eyes. They knew they didn't believe any of them. Kamala's joy, this is hype. She's so brat. Really? Really? You thought we were going to fall for that? And at first, I was worried about that. I had people ask me, what do you think Trump's going to win? It's like, I think so, because I talked to lefties and right-wingers. And it sure does seem like even just normal moderates, independents. Again, I follow in libertarian camps, and I was watching a ton of libertarians jump on the Trump train. Why? Because it definitely seemed like even the Libertarian Party was swallowing the Kool-Aid, the rainbow Kool-Aid, into an oblivion. Everything was inauthentic. Even their campaign. The campaign, I don't like to call people, but Chase Oliver's campaign felt authentic, felt inauthentic off the get-go, just by how we got in. Waiting to count delegates Sunday night while everyone was going to work. All of it's inauthentic. That's why they lost. They have no authenticity whatsoever. Everything feels and looks and sounds fake. The reason why Trump got in is because he did the things that were authentic. He did the Theo Vaughn podcast, the Joe Rogan podcast. He went to McDonald's and had fun. He put on a vest and was in a garbage truck doing a press conference. No, David, that was staged. That's not authentic. Tell me the guy doesn't love America. And I'll show you a guy, you could see it in his eyes. You're inauthentic. That's why the Democrats lost. And that's why they're not going to gain any traction until they start being real people again. Until they start being real people again. Let's do one more. I'm going to show you this one tweet. This is wild to me. Let me see if I can find it. Hold on. I'll share it in just a second. I got to find it first. Here we go. Nope. Let's do this. Let me show you this tweet. This is what I'm talking about, authenticity. No, not that. Hold on. Yeah, definitely not that. This tab. All right. So this David Bernstein, He retweeted this thing, said, "Great news. Trump doesn't need rhinos in his administration. I will not be inviting," and this is what Trump said, "I will not be inviting former Ambassador Nikki Haley and former Secretary of State Mike Pompeo to join the Trump administration and is currently being formed. I'm very much enjoyed and appreciate working with them previously, and I would like to thank them for the service to our great country, make America great again." Thought that was very interesting, especially the way he worded that and didn't just call Nikki Haley a horseface, which I may have done. David Bernstein, I'm assuming not a MAGA right-winger. This is one thing that really puzzles me about MAGA world is why they hate the likes of Haley and Pompeo, lifetime conservative Republicans, but love RFK Jr. and Tulsi Gabbard, lifetime left-wing Democrats. And it can't be that Haley and Pompeo ran against Trump, because so did RFK. And right below this, we have Roseanne Barr coming in hot. You almost awake. Keep going. Underneath that, the MAGA plumber. They will never understand. Their minds are too closed. This wasn't about winning for our party. This was about America. Authenticity. It was never about getting Republicans in charge. It was about just having people who love America in charge. That authenticity wasn't found in the Haleys or the Pompeos. It was found in the RFKs, the Democrats. Tulsi Gabbard, Democrats. Well, why? Why switch? Why bring authenticity? Because they really believe what they're trying to do is right. And the reason you know what they really believe is because they're doing the right thing. That's the difference. And you can see they're doing the right thing by the way they move and they act and their ideas. You know who has conversations? RFK. You know who has a hard time having conversations? RFK. You think that's easy being a talker like this? No. But he did it because he actually cares about America. Tulsi Gabbard, same thing. Elon Musk, same thing. You could see it. Authenticity. Bleeding authenticity. It doesn't matter if you have an R or D by your name. This is an authentic party. Whatever this is, this movement, it's authenticity. The Democrats lost because they don't know what authenticity is anymore, because they've been inauthentic for so long. And finally, the white pill of it all, because you guys know I love white pills, America's waking up. And so this is not going to stop. It's going to continue. The media, I don't expect Morning Joe to come out and all of a sudden have an epiphany. Maybe he has a stroke like Fetterman and comes out based. Who knows? That was a weird one. What happened there? Maybe God's intervention. We shall see. We shall see. Guys, stay white pilled. You guys know I don't like black pills. Sorry for the seriousness of this, but I thought this was an important conversation that I do think needed to happen. Mostly because as much fun as I have on these live streams, I don't know if you guys listen to my other podcast episodes. I'm a fairly serious person. I just think Sunday nights are for having fun. But this one I pulled in a little bit of seriousness with it. Because I actually do care. I care about all my friends, whether they voted for Trump, didn't vote, or voted for Kamala. I don't hate them. I like having conversations with them. They're good people. They're good people. The machine I do hate. And I do not like inauthentic, disingenuous people who know they're inauthentic and disingenuous and think they can fool my friends and think they can fool my family and get away with it. So, Pardonable Live started off to make sure to call out the people lying to you and to make sure you didn't feel insane for having common sense. Start off that way, and it's going to continue that way beyond election season. Will I talk about politics every night? Hopefully not. I'm so fatigued with politics. It's not my jam. This is not my lane. But politics swerved its car into my lane, so I had to push back. And so that's what we did here. This is what we do. Like and subscribe. You guys know the drill. I hope you follow me on whatever you're doing. Hope you share this with your friends. Hope you share this particular episode. Again, it's going up on Spotify and Apple. Always does every Tuesday. Share it with your friends. Hopefully we get a little bit of empathy. The problem with it now is even if Tim Walz says something smart, it's coming out of his mouth. And I have a problem with that because inauthenticity. Good message, bad messenger. Anyway, love you guys. Stay white pilled. We will be back next week, as always, 8:30 Sunday. Keep rocking it. Got some stuff coming in. Yellowstone's coming out. Maybe we'll talk about Yellowstone. I think that's coming out this week. Penguin, by the way, still amazing. Best thing ever. I was like, Penguin's pretty good. Did I really like Batman? Went back and rewatched The Batman. Long, but a great movie. And so I'm liking whatever versus Matt Reeves. I think it's his universe. He keeps expanding. He's going to blow Joker. He already blew Joker out of the water. That was an easy one. But either way, looking good. And then Skeleton Crew's coming out for Star Wars soon. So that'll be a fun one. Let's talk about that. Let's get back to culture. Because culture is really what's important. Politics is downstream from that anyway. Anyway, love you guys. I hope you have an amazing week. Most likely, what if you have a better week than the week we're already having now? That would be a godsend, and I'm looking forward to it. So stay white pilled, stay encouraged. Don't reach out to your lefty friend, because probably now is not the time. Give it some time. If it looks like they're having a meltdown, don't gloat in their face. Just gloat behind their back, like I do. Anyway, love you guys. Hope you have a wonderful